I'll try to get this right. This is the sort of thing that I was arguing with Sam Harris about. You see, your category system is a product of your aims. That's the thing. Like if you have a set of facts at hand, the facts don't tell you how to categorize the facts because there's too damn many facts. There's a trillion facts, and there's no way, without imposing some a priori order on them, of determining how it is that you should order them. So how do you order them? Well, that's easy. You decide what you're aiming at. Now, how do you do that? Well, I'm not answering that question at the moment. I'm just saying that in order to organize those facts, you need an aim. And then the aim instantly organizes the facts into those things relevant to the aim, tools, let's say, those things that get in the way, and a very large number of things that you don't have to pay attention to at all, right? It excludes, like if you're working on an engineering problem, you don't have to worry about practicing medicine in your neighborhood. You don't, there's a bunch of, like if you're focusing on a particular, what would you say? Any job, any set of skills implies that you're good at a small set of things and then not good at an incredibly large number of other skills. It simplifies things, and so you can use your aim as the basis of a category structure. And so you also have to keep that in mind, because what it means is, as far as I can tell, that what it means is that your category system itself, which is what structures your perceptions, is actually dependent on the ethics of your aim. It's a moral thing. It's directly dependent on your aim. And that's a stunning idea if it happens to be true. It's not how people think about thinking. We don't think that way. We think deterministically, let's say, or that we think empirically, or that we think rationally. And none of that appears to be the case. What we do is we posit a valid aim, and then we organize the world around the aim. And there's plenty of evidence from that in psychological studies of perception, right? That does look like how the perceptual systems work. Mostly they ignore, because the world's too complicated. They focus on a small set of phenomena deemed relevant to whatever the aim is. And then, of course, the aim is problematic. Again, it's complex, because the aim I have has to be an aim that some of you share or at least don't object to, because otherwise I'm not going to get anywhere with my damn aim. It has to actually be implementable in the world. It has to be sustainable across at least some amount of time. It can't kill me. Like, it's really hedged in, this aim. It isn't any old thing. There's hardly any things that it can be. So, Jacob's aim, for example, in undermining Esau almost gets him killed. And you can understand why. That's the other thing. You think, well, that was a nasty bit of work. You can understand Esau's rage. It's, even though we're separated from the people in these stories by, 4,000 years, 3,000 years, something like that, immediately why everyone feels the way they do, at least once you understand the context of the story. That none of that's mysterious in the least. So there's the church, and the church is underneath the cross. Right, and so that's St. Peter's Basilica. And so there's the cross on the globe on top of the basilica, and then there's the cross on the obelisk as well. And so what that means is that, and this is where things get insanely complicated, is that the center is defined by whatever the cross represents. Now, the cross represents a crossing point geographically. It's certainly that. The cross probably represents the body to some degree. But then the cross also represents the place of suffering, obviously, and more importantly, it represents the place of voluntary suffering transcended. I'm speaking psychologically, right? Not theologically. That's what it represents. And so you might say, so here's the idea behind putting down the obelisk with the cross and saying that that's the center. So that's the thing that everyone's aiming at. And so the idea would be, well, if you're going to be a member of the group defined by this obelisk, then what you do is accept your position at the center of suffering voluntarily and therefore transcend it. That's the idea. And that is one hell of an idea. It really is, man. That is a killer idea. Because it's actually a signal, it's a really clear signal of psychological health. You know, because one of the things you do if you're a clinical psychologist and someone is paralyzed by fear is what you do is you break their fears down into relatively manageable bits, and then you have them voluntarily confront their fears. And it might also be things that they're disgusted by, say if they have obsessive compulsive disorder, but it produces very strong negative emotion, whatever it is. And then you have them voluntarily confront whatever it is that produces that overwhelming negative emotion, and that makes them stronger. That's what happens. It doesn't make them less afraid. It makes them more courageous and stronger, and that is not the same thing. It's seriously not. It doesn't decrease the fear. It increases the courage. And so that's a mind-boggling idea.